Namaste, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. And today we have Harsh Strongman from LifeMathMoney. Welcome, Harsh. How have you been?
I have been well, Pooja. Long time no see. How are you?
Doing great, man. Working on new projects. You're also working on new projects and you're keeping busy these days.
Yes, there has been a lot of changes in the economy over the past few months, and I think commensurate changes are necessary. What new projects are you working on, Pooja?
So we're working on two new projects. One is regarding skill development that we're trying to bridge the gap between what is being taught in the books or in the curriculum theoretical part of it and what's actually being done on the job. So what we're trying to do, we're trying to give pre-training so that students or people are looking out for internships or jobs, they know what they're going to do, and it will not only this, it will help them in making better career decisions. So that is one, and the other one is still in the pipeline, so I don't want to disclose it.
Okay, I like the first one though. I like the fact that, see, the main problem with a lot of professional education now is that theory and practical life are so different that often what you learn and what you do are completely different, and your education is somewhat wasted, or it takes you a few years just to get up to speed on the practical aspects of things. So I would love to hear more about your new projects.
Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of things are going on. So, when the things streamline, we can have a detailed session on that. Meanwhile, you guys can check out and visit the website thinkingbridge.in. Enough about me, Harsh. Let's talk about you, man. I mean, it's been quite a long time since we recorded the podcast. So, let's talk about your childhood this time. So, how were you as a kid? Were you this naughty kid who could piss everyone off, or were you this neglected nerd, or like a flamboyant all rounder?
So as a kid, my mother says I was very smart. So when I was about 8 months or 7 or 8 months old, I could walk on both my feet. I never crawled. I just started walking, and I could speak without making errors. So my speech was also, I hit a lot of my milestones much earlier than everybody else, I'm told. So my mother says I was a smart kid, but I was also a very mischievous kid, according to her, where I would play around with everything and to an extent. And I think this has been the biggest thing I've heard from everybody is that I was curious to the point that it was annoying. So I would ask, like, what is this? What is this? What is this? Which color is this? And it would annoy everybody. And when I was a kid, my nickname was Paresh Rawal because I would ask so many questions.
It's actually funny. Whosoever gave it, it's funny. Paresh Rawal. Even I used to ask a lot of questions, and people, I mean, especially my classmates, they would get annoyed. Please, yaar, go out and ask the questions from the teacher. So,
I
can
think
relate to that.
all smart people face this problem.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, I've had people call me Paresh Rawal independently, in the sense that when I was in my classes and my CA final and CA IPCC classes, I would ask so many questions that a teacher said you're like Paresh Rawal, and I'm like, how did you know that?
Oh. Hmm. My teachers used to say that she has studied in advance and she's asking the questions which have not been taught in the class yet. So that's something I used to face.
Oh, I see. You were a hardworking kid.
Yeah, I was.
So, other than that, my childhood was pretty good. So, I'm from a small village in India, like a very, very small village. I think the population is very, very small. And after I was born, my parents decided to move to a city because it's just a better future for me. And I suppose it's better economically for them as well. And things have gone well since then. So I learned English. I'm the first person in my family to get a complete English education. And the thing is, since no one in my family speaks English, I'm the first person to speak it. And I was so bad at it initially that my school, asked me to repeat senior KG, and thankfully I didn't have to. But the reasoning was that he can't speak English at all. But my father was like, he'll manage, he's smart, and convinced him. So thankfully, I didn't have to waste a year. And yeah, so after that, things were fine in school. I was always a sincere kid. I would put my work in, and I was not distracted at all. And I used to, even back in school, there were kids who were very distracted and they cared a lot about worldly things like parties and movies and everything. And even back in school, I didn't really care about it. It didn't hold any attraction for me. So sometimes I have people on Twitter and people who know me ask me that, why did you leave all these movies and everything to become productive? And I never left it. I never had it in the first place. So I was just born in this way, I think.
Hmm. It's pretty interesting, and I could relate to most of it because friends would be discussing movies, and I'd be like, "What is this movie? What is this song?" So that's pretty much relatable. And a lot of people, in our age group, they fantasize about clubbing and everything. I've never done clubbing in my life. Have you
It
done clubbing?
it sucks. I've been to clubs a few times, mostly because of my friend's request, and it's first of all it's extremely loud, and the food is always horrible. And I don't drink, so my incentive for being there is not very little. It's frankly extremely overrated, and I have not yet been able to figure out why people like it so much. I do think a lot of it is just sheep following other sheep, where you are told clubbing is cool, so you believe clubbing is cool, and even when you don't enjoy it, you still want to go there because you think it's cool.
Yeah, a lot of people, they have weekend plans. Every weekend they want to go out, they want to party, they want to chill. I mean, it freaks me out.
Well,
What are your thoughts on that?
I'll tell you why the mindset exists. So you have to ask yourself, why is Friday and Saturday celebrated so much? Why is Friday and Saturday night special? It's just like any other night for people like us. But when people who work jobs, and especially when they work jobs they don't like or that don't fulfill them, these are the only days they have in their life that they can do what they want. Okay. So for them, they're trading 5 days of their life to get the weekend free. And for them, these are their days to celebrate. And that's why they care so much about having as much fun as possible and doing the cool things. For people like us, if you want to take a Wednesday off, you can take a Wednesday off. No one cares. If I want to take a Monday off, I just take a Monday off. I don't have to answer to anybody, and I don't have fixed 2 to 5, fixed 5 days for work for 2 days free. It's just dependent on what I want to do. So for us, these things don't matter. We don't care about a weekend plan because we can do whatever we want whenever we want. But for employees and people who don't like what they do, it's the only days they have to do whatever they want.
Hmm. But why only parties is the, I mean, is the exciting part about their life? Why can't they be doing things that actually fulfill them? If they're not liking their current job, don't you think they should be looking for options which actually fulfill their lives, or they would get some happiness out of pursuing that thing?
Well, you are right. They should be, but people in this rut, they are not the type of people to take action, or they are not people who do anything productive, or they are not people who are actually looking for success or change. They are just looking to make themselves feel better. And things like dancing in bright, flashy lights, especially when you have drunk a bit, make you feel really, really good. And it's kind of a big escape from their mundane or horrible life, so to speak. And I don't mean this to demean anybody, but it's just true. And everyone who does that knows that. They know it's true. So when you take other hobbies, okay, if you take sports or if you take reading, all of these hobbies involve a certain amount of effort and a certain you need to
Discipline?
yeah a certain amount of discipline. Sometimes you don't want to do it initially, but let's say you have to read a book. Sometimes you don't feel like reading, but after you read a few pages you get into it and then you want to read more. But partying is something which is a social activity, right? You go and meet friends, you dance, have fun, you go to a club, you jump up and down. That's something you don't have any upfront effort that's required. Plus, all of these people have friends who are into the same things. So it's kind of like a circle that feeds into itself. So even if you don't feel like it, your friend will be like, hey, come, come, come. And you would be like, okay. And once you go there, okay, you're with your friends, you're talking. Despite it being a waste of time, you are enjoying it. And I think that's the entire mindset. They are not
Mm.
looking to solve their problem, they are just looking to numb the pain.
Right. Hmm. Okay, I want to talk about something serious here. So, there are certain events in our lives that change our perspective towards life, and there's a point when you experience cognitive dissonance, and everyone goes through that phase. So, do you recall any such incident or phase in your life when your attitude towards life changed completely, or you developed a different outlook towards life?
Well, yes. So, in my early teens, I was a lot into video games. That is, I would come from college and I would play video games, or I would come from school and play video games. And college here means 11th and 12th grade. It's different from college everywhere else. It's high school, basically. We call it junior college here.
Mhm.
So, I would come and play video games. But after a while, for some reason, I went to the gym. I decided to go to the gym. And so when you grow up in a middle class Indian family, or like even a lower middle class Indian family, you will often hear that gyms are useless, and if people want to actually be fit, they would climb stairs and pick up buckets and things like that. And
Right.
this was something that I had frequently heard from my mother's friends and my family friends and my family circle, that gyms are people are wasting energy in the gym. If they really cared, they would climb stairs up and down, and you don't have to pay for the gym. So I used to think, okay, gyms are a waste of time. But when I actually went to the gym, I found out it was extremely productive for me. When I started, I could not do a single push up, and over 6 7 months, my physical appearance improved significantly. And that's when I realized that most of the people around me don't know anything. They just speak from their experience, which is fair. Even we are speaking from our experience, but it doesn't mean they actually know what they're talking about, because up until now, I was basically taking fitness advice from people who are not fit. These people are
Mm.
complaining about gyms being a waste of time, but they are themselves not fit. So what are we listening to? So yeah, that changed my perspective towards advice significantly. So after that, I would not listen to random people. I would be like, okay, you're right, but I would not care about that anymore. The other time I had a big perspective shift was back in my school days. So I told you, right, English was not my strong suit.
Mhm.
We had a librarian, and we had a class. Okay, every week we had one class which was called the library period, and we would just go to the library and basically sit there quietly or take a book out and borrow a book. And the librarian said that this week from now on, what you have to do is you have to take a book and you have to summarize that book and make a written summary of that book. And for some reason, everybody understood that she didn't mean it, but I somehow ended up taking it seriously. So I would borrow a book and I would actually summarize it. And I mean a 200-300 page Enid Blyton book or something. And I would write a summary that was like 30 pages or something on a notebook. And I would bring it to her next week. Okay, I summarized this book. So I summarized like I think 5, 6, 6, 7 books that year. And at when I realized that no one else was doing it, so for 5 straight weeks, the only kid in class who was actually bringing her that summary was me. And after that, I realized that, wait, no one else is doing it. Maybe she doesn't mean it. I was slow that way, maybe. And but the thing is that that activity improved my English so much. So right now, my English is good, and that can be traced back to that particular event that I summarized these 6, 7 books, which got me into reading. So after that, I started reading novels and everything, and my English just got better, and now I'm a writer. So that particular day was a fortunate day, and fortunate enough that I was so naive that I thought that teacher meant it when she said you have to summarize an entire book. So if I had been smart enough to recognize that she was just saying it and she didn't mean it, maybe we would not be here talking today. Maybe Life Math Money would not exist, and maybe I would just be one of those people who struggle for not being as fluent in English as they need to be. By the way, anyone who's listening and has children here, get your kids a copy of this Tinkle comics. Those were very, very useful for me. Tinkle comics is this? I'm not sure if it's still in business. I used to read Tinkle. There was one called Chacha Chaudhary. There was more like this. There was Archie's. I used to like Jughead. And
Mhm.
when I was in fifth, sixth grade, a novel, giving a kid a novel is like, it's not going to work out. But you give him a cartoon that's funny and everything in the form of a book. I found it very useful, and we had subscribed. Like my father would subscribe, and I would get a Tinkle and a Tinkle Digest in the mail every month, and I would wait for it, and I would read it the same day. So, if you have children and you're listening to this, it's an investment to buy that comic book for them every single month. Trust me on this.
Right, and then we used to read storybooks actually. A lot of cartoons used to come, no? So they used to create small books. So we used to read those books, not specifically Tinkle, but yeah, short stories. At least to develop the interest in writing.
I see. I see. That's nice. I think writing is more productive than just reading, but I found that reading is easier than writing. Writing takes a lot of effort. If you
Yeah. Yeah, I can understand. I used to write a lot when during my CA preparation, but ever since then, I write now and then. I mean, not frequently, now and then.
Oh, what do you write?
Whenever, I mean, I don't think we should cover this
Am I
because I
embarrassing
write.
you?
I mean, not embarrassing me because I don't really write anything important. I just write whenever I'm feeling down. I try to collect my thoughts. Okay, why am I feeling this? I get self doubt. I mean, I have major self doubt, so I sort of try through writing. I sort of try to, um,
Consolidate your feelings.
yeah, right.
I think writing a diary is actually very beneficial. If you've so, I used to have a diary earlier. I don't have one now because I just got out of that habit and I'm trying to build it back up again. So I found this helps. Okay, just so if you have a microphone or you could just use your phone. So instead of having to write, what you can do is to create a WhatsApp group with just yourself, and to
I've created a Telegram group for that. I send voice notes to
yeah,
myself.
and send yourself voice notes.
Yeah.
And here's how I use it. So what I would do is if I have an idea for a Life Math Money article in the middle of the night, I will just open my WhatsApp group for myself and I will just record what's in my head so I can sleep and then take a look back on it later. And I do the same things for product ideas and business ideas as well. So if I have like, hey, maybe I should try this, but I'm not saying that situation right now. Maybe I'm driving or something, I'll just park to the side, I'll record it, and I'll just move away. Because
Mm.
a lot of people have amazing ideas, but they lose it because if you don't write it down or take a record of it in 5 to 10 minutes, it'll be gone.
It just happened with me yesterday. It just happened with me yesterday. I was in the washroom and I was like thinking about something, and at that moment, I was like, okay, it's a great idea. Maybe you should write it down. And then after coming down, I got a call and then I forgot about it. Now I'm just trying to recall since yesterday what was it?
Oh, so a tragedy.
Yeah. So now I want to talk about real life Hirsch versus Twitter life Hirsch. Are these two personalities completely different, or uh, I mean, just that bits of Twitter Hirsch comes into real life, or bits of real life Hirsch comes on Twitter?
Well, I would not say they're completely different, but in real life, I am a much, much nicer person. And that's because I have to be a bit more aggressive or how to put it, a bit more less courteous on Twitter because that's just how the internet works. If I am not a bit aggressive on Twitter, people would just scroll past my tweets and no one would read. It's just how social media works. So everybody has to be a slight, everybody has to be slightly spicy and polarizing, and that's fair. It's just the nature of the game. But doing that in real life is so stupid that I don't think anyone would do it. So in real life, let's say I disagree with you. So my options are I would just be like, okay, fair. or I could either agree to disagree with you, or I could just accept what you're saying, and I don't have to believe it. I just have to, I don't. This is not an important topic, so okay, I just agreed with you, and we can move on. But on Twitter, you fight with people because it brings you more followers,
Hmm.
and it's just a nature of the game. And I think everybody is like this on Twitter. I don't think anyone is exactly the same way on Twitter as they are in real life, because the things that work in real life do not work on Twitter, and vice versa. So if you're too nice on Twitter, no one will notice you. And if you're too aggressive in real life, you will not have any friends, business partners, anyone left who can talk to you, because there's no one on earth who will agree with everything you have to say. And I think it's a sign of a good education or being intelligent or wise to be able to fit yourself in any situation you enter. So, to give you an example, I have a few friends who are feminists, and they're not just feminists, they are feminazis. And they are still friends with me. I don't tell them what my real opinions are. I just agree with what they have to say. I avoid that topic usually, but the reason I'm still friends with them is I want to maintain my ability to blend with people of all varieties. I don't want to be the person who is so strict regarding what they think that they can't even interact with people who don't think the same way. But I would never do that on Twitter. So on Twitter, if you're a feminist, I'm going to insult you to no end.
That's where anonymity really helps you to maintain your social relations, right? I mean, maintain a social life as well, and you can still maintain that polarizing tone on Twitter
Well, I
because
don't think that's the real reason to be anonymous. So if I stop
I mean
being,
that's just one aspect, obviously.
it's a
Uh,
minor aspect. So I mean, it looks that way if you look at it a bit superficially. But even if I was not anonymous, it would not impact me in any significant way. The only main reason to be anonymous is that there's a big nuisance value to not being anonymous. That is, people recognize you everywhere you go. You have to be careful now what you say, because people might just record it and put it up online. Hey, this guy said this. To give you an example, when a famous person does something stupid, it's on the internet everywhere. Okay, it haunts them
trolling.
forever. As a regular person, I could do whatever I want. I could make any mistakes I want without having news articles and without it becoming an incident in my life. So I am anonymous because it gives me the freedom to make mistakes. I don't, there's nothing that's going to happen to me. I think life has been good for me. I don't work a job, so I can't be fired. And if I decide to stop being anonymous, I would actually make more money. So if I stop being anonymous, it would make me more money, because then people would be able to see, okay, this person is legit. He knows what he's talking about. He has all this experience, so we can buy his products. Or I will have better marketing opportunities, so I would be able to go on more interviews since I'm now anonymous, not anonymous anymore. It's just that being anonymous gives me the flexibility of not be, that people who are not famous have. So if I make a mistake or if I see something I should not have, it's just forgotten like how it used to be. And this thing is going away with time. If you take, for example, 100 years ago, if you do things that you're not proud of, you could just move your city. Like, you could just physically move to a different location and start afresh. But now, because of social media and how connected that the world is, you can't do that anymore. If you move, your identity is still attached with you, your past is still with you. So I think the world is moving towards having stronger records, and anonymity is just one defense against it. But I don't think it really matters too much. I mean, who cares, man? I have my opinions, you have yours, and we don't have to agree with everything. I think someone who is that militant about their opinions, that hey, you said something online I don't like, so we can't be friends, I think they are doing you a favor by going away
Hmm.
sooner rather than later.
Right. I mean, the point that you mentioned that people spew hate online, and I mean, but you still receive a lot of hate on your Twitter handle. So,
Who
how is,
doesn't? Who
I
doesn't?
mean,
Anyone
obviously,
who
who
is
doesn't?
big receives hate. It's a price of
Receive
success, baby.
hate. That's correct, but I want to understand that you're saying that if a famous person does anything stupid and so they get trolled everywhere and they get receive hate above all, right? So you're also receiving hate at the same time, but you're maintaining the anonymity. So how is anonymity actually like serving the purpose here? Do you get the question? What I'm trying to ask?
No, could you elaborate a bit more?
Okay, so you're remaining anonymous because you don't want all that fuss in your life. You don't want uh, to be afraid of committing mistakes in your real life, and you don't want
No,
people
it's
to
not
be falling.
a fear of committing mistakes. It's just it gives me more flexibility.
Okay.
I think I know what you're asking, and I'll give you an example. Okay, so if I go out today, or any random person, okay, if my neighbor goes out today and goes and kills an endangered deer, nothing is going to happen to him. Nothing, like not a single thing will happen to him. There are many villagers who killed endangered animals, and nothing happens to them because they are just random people. But if a celebrity does it, and a very popular celebrity is very famous for doing it, I will not say his name, but the only reason it's taking years of his life to solve that case is because he's famous and it got in the media and everything.
Mm.
But if a random villager or a random citizen did that, nothing would have happened to him. He would have just walked away. Maybe there would have been a small case which would have settled, but it would not have lasted. It would not have become such a high profile thing.
Mm.
And
Mm, I get it now.
I'm not saying that I want to do crazy things like that. I'm saying that there's many things that just happen without you wanting it to happen. And the more famous you are, the bigger of an issue it becomes. And there's also the fact that it's just a more peaceful life if you don't have the complexity of being famous in your. There's a reason why all these Bollywood celebrities try to hide their face wherever they go.
Mm. You portray yourself as a very dedicated and committed person who's always energetic on Twitter, and um, I'm not sure if you have days when you feel down, but I certainly do. So, do you also have? I mean, do you recall any such triggers which make you feel low? And if yes, then what steps do you take to correct it?
Well, I don't have a day where I feel emotionally low. There are some days where I don't feel like doing a lot of work. And what I've found is that you always need to have some tasks that are extremely easy or low effort tasks in your to do list and preserve those tasks for those particular days simply because it's just more efficient this way. So, what normally people do is they do all the easy things first and they leave all the difficult things for later in the day, which becomes tomorrow, tomorrow, tomorrow. What you want to do is do all the important, difficult things first and do the easy things later, and maybe even postpone them to a day where you don't feel like working. Generally, I notice that these low energy days come from, say, you didn't sleep well enough. So if you came home at 2 or 3 a.m. and you woke up at 9 a.m., 7 a.m., or something like that, you haven't slept enough for you to be fresh, or days where you eat very little food. So if the day before you only eaten like 2,000 calories, okay, so I need to eat like 3,300 calories to maintain my body weight. So I've eaten half the food I should have. So obviously on the next day I'm going to feel the effects of not having eaten enough. Other than that, I don't see myself being low. I am generally never low. And when I am, I would just like go for a walk or something and I would feel better. This is not a problem which happens to me on a significant basis.
Hmm. Awesome. So, with this, we can end the podcast here. It was nice having you here, always as always. Looking forward to more such podcasts in the near future. Thank you so much, Harsh, for joining in.
I'm always happy to be here, and likewise, I appreciate the opportunity of being on your podcast.
Bye, guys. Thank you.